Welcome, I'm Dr. Shane Morris, and with me again is Mike Reese, clinical consultant. And today we're going to cover an amazing topic, a topic that's near and dear to me because our future rests in this topic, and that is our children, and your children, and everybody's children. And we want to make sure that we provide the best nutrition when it comes to the children's development. What we're going to do today is we're going to walk you through what we consider a child development process. And at each stage of development, we're going to give you some tools, some systemic tools to handle and to best nutrient and benefit and nourish this child's development at each stage. And we're going to give a couple of caveats throughout this talk too to help guide you down the path of when it's a good idea, dosing, when it's not a good idea, because later on when we get into medicinal herbs, there are some really, you got to be careful because medicinal herbs can be beneficial, but they can be dangerous, as we know, right? They're very powerful. And children, there's no research on children regarding some of these medicinal herbs, and so we have to tread lightly. And as a company, our caveat is we're going to strictly cover nutrient benefits at a young age. As they get older, the clinician really has to play a very powerful role in identifying what these children need and what these young men and women need beyond ours. We can't make recommendations above and beyond the clinician. It's really in their hands because they're the closest to the child. They understand what's going on. Yeah. They're in the thick of what's going on with these young people. So they have to make the call. As a business, we do not make that call. And we'll jump back to that later when we're in the protocoling. But we want to begin with prenatal, right? Prenatal.
Awesome. So yeah, like he said, we're focused on nutritive supplements that Systemic Formulas provides. Yeah. So starting with prenatal, there is a regimen that's worked quite well for a lot of our customers, and that is if you were to have a glance at our whole food multivitamin, it's called Spectra.
Yep.
Spectra 1 and 2. It actually comes in two parts. So if you look at Spectra 1, it's a whole food multivitamin, so it contains all the cofactors in there in addition to the micronutrients, which would be exceptional for a prenatal protocol for the pregnant mom. And in addition to that, the second part, Spectra 2, is going to have oils specifically that will actually help better absorb those micronutrients. So you have some particular fatty acids and also some minerals, vitamin D3, K2, and another, E is in there as well.
Yeah, so all the oil solubles are in Vista 2, and all the water solubles are in,
Yeah.
all of the oil solubles are in Spectra 2.
Right.
All of the vitamins and some minerals are in Spectra 1. And as you mentioned, this is not only whole food, it's organic. Right? They're organically grown on the farm. They're certified. It's it is the first of its kind, by the way. And we've talked about that in other videos, so we don't need to rehash that. But it's a great prenatal because it is organic, it's whole food, and it provides the full gamut of both water and oil solubles.
Awesome. And so to go along with that, I've often heard you recommend both Moors and Epic. So often what the protocol will suggest is you'll do a Spectra 1 and 2 on one day, and then on the alternate days or the following day you would do Moors and Epic. And what's your main reasoning behind that?
Yeah.
Because I've heard you often suggest that.
Yeah,
that
and I love that suggestion. So in that suggestion, if you just pick a Monday to start with Spectra 1 and 2, Tuesday become Moors and Epic, and then you go back to Spectra 1 and 2, and you just continue that pattern. Why I did that is because we mentioned that all of the organic nutrients, broad spectrum, all the oil-soluble and water-soluble B vitamins, as well as some minerals, that's provided by Spectra 1 and 2. What Moors and Epic provide are the vitamins and some of the minerals that are further down the cellular pathway. Now, the cellular pathway means when you eat a vitamin, it goes through a number of processes before it becomes the final vitamin. For example, let's take folates, right? Folic acid. Folic acid is the simplistic form of folates. In the plant, it's a folate that is glutamated. In Moors, it's methyl tetrahydrofolate. 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. So it is the final product of the vitamin that is used by the cell. So what we're doing is we're providing a lot of the nutrients in a very basic, raw, organic form. And with Moore's and Epic, we're providing them at their final form where they do their work inside the cell. So they're finished being processed. So your body doesn't have to spend all that energy converting them into 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate or riboflavin 5-phosphate or some of the other, zinc gluconates and so on. They're in their final form. So what we do is we're now providing the tissue some core beginning nutrients as well as the finished nutrients so that we've covered all the pathways.
Gotcha.
That's why I do that. And you rotate them. And that also gets the levels up high enough that it matches any or surpasses any prenatal that they've already been recommended. And now in addition to these things, we want to add in a good probiotic. We add in MBC because we know probiotics drive a healthy behavior of a pregnant mom. And we know, I can't go into detail today, but it's an amazing phenomenon what happens with the microbiome over the growth of this new baby. So we provide a probiotic. Ours is MBC. We also want to start providing, if not in the beginning, at least before the 3rd trimester, we want to start providing DHA and EPA in the form of algae or RPM. Algae is the algae form of omega-3s, DHA and EPA, and the RPM is the krill form, the phospholipid form of those two. Either one is beneficial in that case. And they provide the DHA and the EPA that's needed for brain development and neurological development in that 3rd trimester and when they're young. We'll get to that in a minute. But that's part of the prenatal regimen right there is Moore's, Epic, Spectra 1, Spectra 2, MBC, algae and or RPM. That's the core. That's the core nutritive environment for that developing young person.
So when you look at the variety of oils, so we mentioned Spectra 2, and that's predominantly omega-6.
Yeah, those are plant-based oils.
Plant-based oils, and then you also have the krill oil in RPM, which is going to help with inflammation.
Right.
In addition to that, you have algae, which is the highest in the DHA and EPA when you're looking at the brain development of the baby. So what are the advantages of having just the variety of oils?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know there's a lot of controversy around oils because once we latch onto a concept, whether it be the plant or parent omega-3s or omega-6s or the fish, krill, algae-based omega-3s, DHA, EPA, DPA, they all have amazing benefits. So where your intellect comes in is there's a time and a place for all of them. The vast majority of the bulk of the oils we should be getting in our diet are plant-based. And there's a couple of ratios that you hear, like for the heart, it's 4-to-1, 4 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. For brain development, it might be 6-to-1, and for other tissues. So just take that as a loose guideline. Now, when they're developing, when their brain's developing, you might be able to bring that all the way up to a 1-to-1, right? So one serving of omega-3s and 6s from plants and 1 serving from the DHA and EPA because brain development needs a lot of those omega-3s, the DHA, EPA. As they're born and as they're growing, we can start shifting that ratio up. There's always a way to think it through from a clinician's perspective. When you're taking a lot of fish oils for a while, you want to stop and rotate in the plant oils for a while, and then interject fish oils, once a month. There's another way to think of ratios. Once you have a healthy person, and I'm moving out of prenatal, or even the mom. Let's just take the mom, for example. If she's she's eating well, she's dealing with this protocol, she's taking the Moore's Epic, and she's really doing well with this protocol, she can say, okay, I feel like I'm getting all these oils in nicely. She could even do a 4-to-1 based on weeks. She could do 3 weeks of taking the Spectra 2, which is plant-based, 1 week of taking the algae, the RPM. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. So there's ways to play with these ratios to really drive the health and to give the body what it needs when it needs it. And you also, in that sense, circumvent this issue of people that are on high doses for too long. And I know that's a concern for many of you. That's easy to get around. You cycle your oils like you would other nutrients. You cycle probiotics. You cycle some of the prebiotics. It gives that diversity. And that's what I recommend doing with these oils, especially when you're doing everything else right and you're not deficient in oils. And remember, there's testing that can be done. There can be blood tests for omega-3s that you can see where you're at, and you can cycle accordingly. If you're low on DHA, EPA, you can bring them up for a while, then cycle the plants back in, and get those up. I'm trying not to make it complicated. It's a really easy game. Think of 4-to-1 ratios. Get the plants up, bring in the fish oils, and during the third trimester, get those fish oils up to maybe a 1-to-1 for a while, or 2-to-1.
So a lot of clients love our NBC.
Yeah.
For different reasons, and because it's so therapeutic, the potency is very high. You have 10 different strains of probiotics.
Yeah.
It's 100 billion CFU per serving.
Yeah.
In regards to prenatal or kids and their development, very young.
Yeah.
How? Granted that, what would be the recommended dose for prenatal of the MBC from your perspective?
Yeah, you and I talked about this, and that's a really great question to address, because I know people struggle. Strong probiotics, just like strong prebiotics, can create gastrointestinal distress sometimes, right? Especially when you're on them for long periods of time, you can those things ease, but now you're also on the same organisms for a while, so you want to rotate them. So again, first and foremost, for young people or even for moms, you can empty the capsule into a drink of choice, or a smoothie or something. Empty it in there.
Right.
That causes it to distribute from the mouth all the way down. When it's in a capsule and you're taking it by a capsule, which is good for some people, that just concentrates it into the small intestine, because that capsule is acid resistant. But when you open it up and put it in a smoothie, or a couple capsules in a smoothie, the serving size, you're now distributing it from your mouth and all the way through the stomach, and it helps broaden the dose out through a higher volume. So it essentially dilutes it. That can be much more gentle on the GI for a lot of people, young people especially. So you empty it into something that, some healthy smoothie, or, whatever they're eating that you can, because it doesn't taste too bad.
No.
You stir it in, they eat it. That's a good way to distribute the probiotics, especially the powerful ones. And you find that they'll get less GI discomfort in that process. And then as we get older, we can get back to the capsules as we get older and want to do some targeted work. And we'll get to that in a minute. But that's a great question. Opening the capsules is the way to go in that case. Yeah.
Okay.
And always consider once you get into the younger people, always consider a prebiotic to go along with it. It's very helpful. In our case, it's FBR, but there are some other, there's options just on the food world, vegetables and things that act as prebiotics. But a prebiotic helps manage the probiotic all the way down.
So FBR, fibers for intestinal health,
Yeah.
that's 7 grams of fiber per scoop.
Right.
So there should be 30 scoops worth in the container there. So also to help with prenatal health, fiber is very critical during that time.
That's right.
And as far as dosing goes there, these are all sprouted fibers.
Right.
So what would be your suggestion for prenatal protocol if a mom is going to be, during pregnancy, consuming FBR? Is this something they should start slowly with if they're not accustomed to that much fiber?
Absolutely. And remember, pregnancy brings with it these hormonal changes which can also create issues in the GI, peristaltic issues, water, these hormones regulate a lot of this GI behavior. So sometimes there's a constipation issue, sometimes there's the opposite of that, right? So too much fluid dumping into the colon. Fiber can help regulate that, but you do have to start small. It's a great point. So when you start on your probiotic, MBC, also try just 1/4 of a scoop of fiber. Just 1/4 of a scoop, and try that for a few days, 3, 4, 5 days. And then you can up it to 1/2 a scoop, and then to 3/4 of a scoop, and then finally to a full scoop. Once your body's used to it, and remember, the fiber is just as important as any probiotic, because it feeds everything in your GI, not just the probiotics you're eating. And in the process, those guys help you maintain enzyme digestive function. They help you maintain tight junctions. They help you maintain immune response. So the fiber is critical for that piece. And so I would say add that onto the protocol, right? So our protocol now for prenatal is Spectra 1 and 2, Epic Mors, MBC, the oils, krill the krill, RPM, or algae. But now we're looking at fiber. That's something we want to add to the program. That now takes us to the next level of getting that GI healthy. And remember, the mom's immune system is intimately tied to the developing baby's immune system, and that's a great phenomenon. The prebiotics help develop that properly. And help, by the time milk comes in, it's another benefit of eating a good fiber, is the milk production. It uses some of those fibers to create oligosaccharides in breast milk. So there's a lot of great benefits. And I think the final piece to this, something you mentioned earlier, is now we can add one more thing, and that would be maybe some digestive enzymes. They help you with the fiber, they help you with food, and in our case, I think you mentioned Z-gluten. And it contains not only digestive enzymes, but it has a little bit of ginger, things that can help with nausea, and just balancing out that stomach all the way down, right? And the digestive enzymes help work the food you're eating as well as the fiber and other parts of your diet, help metabolize it. It helps the pancreas because it provides all these external enzymes, proteases, amylases, lipases, and so on.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think you mentioned that earlier. That's a great add-on. So that pretty rounds out the prenatal, I think.
Awesome.
In the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would. Yeah, I would definitely agree.
So I think the next thing we wanted to talk about was newborns or pre-toddler, toddler ages. Because again, that is a very critical age of development. Everything's growing, everything's developing. We want to be giving them the best nutrients available. But we have to focus on the nutrient side, not so much on the medicinal side, because that's tricky water that the clinician has to address. Meaning powerful formulas, powerful herbal formulas, that's done in the clinician world and not in our world. We want to talk about just things that are going to provide nutrients to every tissue that young person's developing. Brain, heart, lung, and so on. Skin. That's really our goal for this next phase of development. It looks a lot like the prenatal, in my opinion. I don't know if you'd agree, but Spectra 1 and 2 again. And now you can be putting it in, if you're pumping breast milk, you can dump it into the breast milk you've pumped, right? So when you're feeding a bottle, when I know a lot of women get really busy and they just put their breast milk in the freezer, and when you thaw it, you put some of these ingredients into the breast milk that they're eating in a bottle. Once they get moved to a little bit more solid foods, you can stir it into the solid foods. But at Spectra 1 and 2, more than Epic early on. A little bit, I would say prebiotics as well, like MBC, but cut it way down, like you mentioned. We're talking half a capsule a day.
Okay, so
you are emptying that, yeah.
So if the mom is using the pump, then she would need to distribute that out over the entire day and consider like a third to a half of a capsule of MBC.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I've also added the oils, like we said, the Spectra 1 to the milk, or the algae to the oils, or excuse me, to the milk or to the soft food they're eating.
Okay.
Yeah. All very beneficial. And keep in mind, you can also take the Spectra 2 oil and add that to the same thing, right? You can always add it to their food or to their milk they're drinking as they're little and developing. Now, every one of these ones we're talking about are all nutritive. Now, the one thing we're lacking, but the breast milk makes up for it, is a prebiotic. Breast milk covers that base really well. So mom needs to continue eating really good fibers because it makes for really good breast milk. And the mom can now, once she's feeling better, she can start rotating different probiotics too, like fermented foods, the kefirs, or the kombuchas, to help give variety that will help her breast milk as well. But the fiber is critical for that. Continue the fiber, and that ends up in the baby's belly through the breast milk.
So I think a question that might come up is for the mom, once she has the baby and once she's actually administering these products that you've mentioned into the breast milk, and then she continues to have fiber. We don't need to worry about giving the baby fiber directly because her diet will greatly influence the milk supply. Right? Will she still continue with that same prenatal protocol of products?
Yes, because while she's breastfeeding, she's still exerting all of her nutrition is going into the breast milk, right? Her body is really focused on that little person's development. So all of her resources are still being pumped into taking care of that little person, even though it's outside of her body. So she needs to stay on top of all of her nutrition for her own health, for her own benefit, as well as the babies, because it's draining. I mean, it's exhausting. You and I will never know, but just from people we know and our wives, and it's a challenge that they need to stay on top of it, because it's very much important. And in that young life, the protocol looks a lot like prenatal, because it's all very nutritive is our goal. It's extremely nutritive for the brain development and so on. Also, something you can introduce, that we've introduced in some of our protocols after they're born and during that young development, is the skin colonizer. Using that on their skin after a bath.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've seen that do amazing things for their skin and their skin health and their skin microbiome. Because remember, their microbiome is developing this whole time. So the breast milk's helping it. The love and affection and the touch of all the members of their family are helping that, both the GI as well as the skin microbiome develop. And the skin colonizer helps. All those organisms are very, very much studied and researched as being anti-inflammatory and supportive to good skin response. They're very commensal, healthy organisms. And we've seen a lot of good work on, irritated skin, temporarily inflamed skin, dry skin, and those organisms are bathed in a group of plant oils that are really similar to our own oil production in our skin, the hydrolipid layer. So they go on, it feels good to the babies, they love it, and it does create a much better nutrient environment on their skin. I've seen it happen. We've done some work and some studies that really does help their skin. And they can stay on that. That's nutritive. There's no worries, there's no downside to it. And we've now got over a year of data, a year and a half of data on little people.
Which is fantastic.
So that's an add-on. So now we're dealing with, again, we still have our Spectra 1 and 2, Epic and Moore's, MBC at a much lower dose, and then our skin colonizer. Did I miss anything?
So with that being said, I don't think you missed anything.
Okay, good.
But as the time progresses, another question that could be often asked is, how long should I be taking this? How long is this protocol going to last? And to add to that, do we adjust this as the child develops, as the child gets older?
Yeah, absolutely. As they get into more solid foods, you can start introducing more dietary nutrients into their world as well. So not just our protocol, but you can start getting more of the vegetables. Once at the 6-month point is really where the GI takes a turn. There's actually even a weaning effect that starts statistically most often at 6 months, where even the babies start to try to wean. That statistically that's where it starts to happen most often, and that's because the GI microbiome switches and starts getting ready for a much more solid food diet. So at 6 months, this protocol needs to change a little bit, because now you can start introducing organic vegetables into their world, right? The nice little baby food, organic vegetables, and that actually provides the prebiotics now. That can provide some of the probiotics, and so you take our protocol and supplement this new solid food diet, and that really becomes a case-by-case basis on how much. You can reduce it because your child's doing amazing. If your child's still struggling with any issues, GI or skin or anything, keep it going until things balance out. But at 6 months, you see a transition in their GI. The microbiome transitions.
As the child gets a little bit older, another product that comes to mind is MetaboShake.
Yeah,
which
you're
is
right.
a plant-based protein entirely. I mean, there's no dairy in there.
Right.
So there's hemp protein, pea protein, another one.
Yeah, sacha
and chia protein, which also has fiber.
It does.
So
yeah, there's some fibers in Metabo. Yeah.
And with that, and with the vitamins and minerals that are in there as well, what are your thoughts on implementing that?
Yeah, once you're moving into you're out of the liquid and you're starting to get solid foods in your diet as a young person, The Metabo is purely nutritive, like you said, and all the vitamins and minerals in that are from Spectra. So they're all the organic, plant-based vitamins in Metabo. It's basically the same ingredients in there. So you can start adding that into some of their solid food and take them off of the Spectra 1 and 2 a little bit, switch it over a little bit, switch it up so that you're slowing down on the liquid in the pill that you're opening up, right? And move into Metabo, which is now providing some macronutrients, some fiber, some protein, and some fats too, medium chain triglycerides and things like that in that phase. And so you can now you can see where you're rotating some of these formulas into a new formula, and you're still providing a lot of the same nutrients, but you're adding to it. So yeah, once you get into solid, you can do that for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it goes in smoothies, it goes in a number of things, exactly. At that point in time, you can also start looking at our kids play line. So now we have the fun play, the brainy play, and the tough play. Tough play is a really mild concoction or tincture, for lack of a better word, for supporting the immune system. It's a number of herbs that are just immune support, but they're very safe. So at that age, you can start saying, well, we're heading into cold season, so I want to make sure that I'm up on my vitamin C, I'm up on my immune support. So tough play comes into play. The brainy play and the owls are very much the same formula. So you pick your formula really, and I think they're just different flavors for people that are sensitive to flavors. And then finally the fun play, which is the liquid Spectra, and that's the child's version, again a different flavor. But the kids play now. Once you can get into the solid foods, you can start adding those into their world. Now we're looking at 2 years old. We're in the 2-year-old range, toddler range, to start doing that. So the Metabo, the kids play, which is fun play, brainy play, tough play. And that really kind of sets them up for the next stage of life, I think.
I think that's awesome. And for the concerns that people have for dosing, this is all outlined on the labels themselves on those products. So if there is that concern, the label will identify the age bracket and the recommended dosings accordingly.
And there's another one you can pair with tough play, and that is called Zincastop. It's also a liquid, so it's really easy to deliver, but it provides the zinc. And remember, zinc is critical for the immune system. And you don't have to provide that if you're already getting you're using the brainy play and the fun play, because there's some zinc in there, and or the Metabo. But if you can't, if they're not into the flavors, if the children aren't really buying the flavors, Zincastop is a good way to get that in. Yeah. Flavor's critical for little people, right? If it doesn't taste right, they're not gonna let you feed it to them. So you might have to experiment a little bit with the different formulas, or mask them in some of their foods or smoothies or other techniques, because they do suffer from they want it to taste good, and we struggle with that. Yeah, they'll spit it out. They'll get rid of it in a heartbeat. Yeah, that takes us to what? Now we're we've gone through the toddler years. Now we're getting into, a little young person. We're talking, 4, 5, 6 years of age.
Okay.
At that point, they're a little bit bigger, and we can start looking at adding, more, maybe potentially some capsules into their world if they need. Simplify the concept of having to always make smoothies or always sneaking it into their food. Everything we've talked about comes in a capsule form. We can now start introducing the capsules of whether it be Spectra or RPM. Spectra is the multi, RPM is the omega. We have a Vista 2 gel cap, which is now the plant omegas. These are capsules that can now start being introduced. We can also start introducing at around age 4 or 5, the CX formulas. And these are nutritive or very specific herbs that we can provide targeted benefits. For example, if we want to provide some microbiome benefit to someone that might have some microbiome disruption or dysbiosis, we can look at the CX3 or 4. And 1 drop is safe for someone of that age. Right now, the CX formulas and the LQs, and you might have to help me remember all the LQs. Because now we can target, now the clinician can target things at that age. So the LQs there's vitamin D3, right? So anytime we're in winter, fall, winter, and early spring, we got to keep that D up. So vitamin D3 LQ is good for little ones and their D3 content.
There's also CalMD liquid.
CalMD liquid. Yeah, Bones Play is the kids' version. And that's the calcium and magnesium, high amounts of magnesium. We have TMI liquid in case there's an iodine deficiency. That one you got to keep an eye on and test for it. We have all of the cellular formulas have a liquid version. So the Moors, the Epic, the ENRG. So all the cellular formulas, which we won't be able to go into today, they have a liquid version. So you must look at those because they can be used from the toddler years all the way forward, especially if, again, they don't like swallowing capsules. So I forgot all about those. I actually should have addressed those when we were in the toddler world, because all those have the potential in the toddler world of providing all those cellular nutrients that we talked about.
So, and speaking of those cellular nutrients, so these products in the BioCell is actually the
line,
or what we call cellulars. So there's Moors that we've talked about, Epic, ENRG, we have Eventa, Spectra 1 and Spectra 2, Vista 1 and Vista 2, and there are some others, but across the board, what are going to be some of the main key things or benefits that these products are going to bring for a child?
Yeah. Anytime you're trying to, I hope, and we all hope, and we realize that we want our children to be healthy and happy, and active and thriving, and being able to do all the things they want to do, reading and learning and sports and everything. But when you're worried about a particular issue, whether it be trying to improve their heart function or improve their liver and kidney, improve their endocrine response. This is where these cellular formulas and CXs come in. Now, to understand that, you and I are not going to have time for that, but the BioCell formula line, to be clear, is for influencing the cells at the cellular level, and the liquid components of that allow you to do that in children. So the idea of supporting tissue at the cellular level for any number of reasons, in fact, many, many reasons, that's where you would introduce these cellular line liquids, because the liquid allows you to do that in children, right? The CXs allow you to do that in all of our other lines, right? So if you're trying to address the adrenal gland or the pituitary, there's a CX version of that little extract that you can do 1 drop in water, and that's completely safe and effective for younger people. And that's what we do. So that's how and I can't go into all of those because there's so many, but just remember that there is a liquid version that can be used in your clinic for younger people. Now, we like to recommend that it's 4 and up that you really get into that zone of type of formulas, because they can be very powerful. Younger than that, it's all the nutritive stuff that we've hit pretty intensely today, I would think. But once you get out and into the older young people, and so now we're talking a weight of like 50 pounds or more, you can start looking at more and more of our formulas in our product line, because now you're getting into a small person, and then it's weight dependent, right? You can take a quarter of a 50-pound person, you can take a quarter of a dose, and that generally tends to be really a safe way to start. And you have to look at each of our categories separately. If you're going to be working on the biome, look at the biome formulas with the liquids, And if you're going to be looking at the cellulars, look at the liquids for children. It's just a much easier dosing. And you can start so small. 1 drop is a really, really, really small dose, which provides the safety first and foremost, and then we work on the efficacy with these liquids. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot, and I realize what Mike and I have covered today is really intense, and I'm hoping that we're summarizing at each step, but there's so many opportunities to help benefit the community of children, the pediatric community, but we really want to stick with nutritive when they're young, and we can work into more therapeutic as they get older. So now we're, as we get into the teens and, the young adults essentially, now we can look at our formulas as just like we would an adult, because now the weight is about the same, right? 100 pounds plus, you can start with a half a dose at that level of any of our formulas based on what you're trying to target what kind of health benefit you're trying to get them, and move from there. And that's where all the other testing and things come in. I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot from different cases, but I felt, am I missing anything? I feel like there's a lot to talk about in the young adult, but it's very specific to conditions, to issues.
You're right. And I think as far as toddlers and the childhood years, I don't think that anything is being missed.
Yeah, I feel like we've hit that pretty well.
Yeah, significant as the product line is, more could be addressed in a youth, with adolescents and youth and young adults when you start to get into the therapeutic remedies that we have.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the items that come up are contraindications or having really powerful herbs that we know can be dangerous to young people and people of low body weight. That's why we don't recommend looking at or getting into those therapeutic until they're essentially a young adult. Some of the essential oils we use, those are really designed for adult intake, and the only exceptions would come with the clinician doing their part, deciding how to administer our formulas very specifically. And if you have any questions, feel free to call us. But that comes back to the clinician's world to decide what to do in that moment with these young people on the therapeutic side, on the more clinical therapeutic side. Yeah. We can't make that call as a company. It's a very individual situation. Please remember that, because that's critical for the safety of all of our formulas, because they do contain essential oils, they do contain some powerful herbs, and we want to avoid those as much as possible to get them better. The probiotics, the fibers, the nutrients, the vitamins and minerals, the oils, those are all great formulations, and you have a lot of choices that we've gone over today to cover our bases on those. Right. They come in liquid versions, they come in pill versions, and so it gives you a lot of flexibility when dealing with the pediatric community, I think. And we've had a lot of successes with these nutrient formulas. And there's more to come. You will see more and more coming your way in terms of creating formulas for this young population, because they are our future. Yeah, did you have anything else to add? I mean, have we missed anything?
I don't believe we've missed anything.
Good.
No, but we do continue to have, the need is there for childhood nutrition and for prenatal. And we continue to have positive feedback. So I encourage you to look into these formulas that Dr. Shane and myself have talked about today.
Thanks a lot, Mike. That was great. And I think we covered everything we needed to. And I want you all to remember, you can join us on a Facebook page to learn more. And this is a really complicated issue, so please feel free to contact us regarding any specific case that you may have, because it's critical that we cover all of our bases carefully. So I know that we gave you a lot, and there's so much more to give, and we can't do it today, so we can do it if you reach out to us. And again, Mike's got a great clinical Facebook page going, so join that or give us a call, because we have a lot more to do with this group of people. Thank you again for joining us.